Hello, fellow hitchhikers. I am excited to bring this video to you today. It's going to be somewhat of a tutorial video and also a little bit of just a theory and explainer video. And this is something that I think anyone who's involved with Axie Infinity, playing the game as a scholar, as a manager, as someone that's an observer, this is good for the ecosystem, and this is good for the people that are participating. It's kind of like a win-win-win-win scenario. Of course, there's always risk, there's always things involved, but come and enjoy some adventures with me today. So I'm assuming you already have an Axie Infinity account and a dashboard, and you can see some of the other videos on how to set that up. If you don't, it's fairly straightforward. You will need to have the Ronin extension, and make sure you have the legitimate one from Sky Mavis, not a scam one that's out there. So you also need to have something in the account. Even if you've just been playing it and you only have SLP, that is fine. Or if you have bridged over some ETH or something like that from MetaMask. But once you're in the Axie Infinity system, we no longer need to worry about gas, and we no longer need to worry about all kinds of different transaction fees. It is pretty slick. So just the other day, Katana came out for the Ronin blockchain, and there's a nice little video and some information. And essentially, Katana is going to enable us to have a decentralized exchange to be able to swap various tokens. It's going to have the ability to farm if you provide liquidity. And of course, we've already got the staking that's been out for a little bit with the Axie tokens. So I'm going to cover all of that in a fairly succinct way, and hopefully you can learn and use this as a bit of a tutorial if you need. So first off, if you go to the Axie Substack article, you can find a link, and of course I'll post a link down below so that you can get to the Katana interface for the Ronin blockchain. So when you're in the Katana interface, there is swap, pool, farm. There's also some analytics that you can see what you've got on the go. There are some visual bugs with that, but it's working pretty good. And of course, lots of documentation. So if you're going to participate in the farming of the liquidity tokens in order to get RON, which I'll explain what those are in just a minute, then the first thing you're going to need to do is turn half of whatever you're putting in into ETH or wrapped Ethereum. So I will choose my SLP. I have 400 there, and I will choose half of that, so 200, and I'll turn that into WETH. Now there is a small transaction fee, 0.3%, and it's good to be aware of these transaction fees because there's a way for you to earn some of that back by providing liquidity. But essentially, the first feature that Katana offers for the Ronin blockchain is gas-free swapping. So you can now turn your SLP straight into wrapped ETH. You will have to approve so that your wallet has access, or so that the interface will have access to the SLP tokens in your wallet, or whatever token you're approving. And now I can swap. You can see you've got your normal types of variables if you've used Uniswap or anything else. So 0.6 SLP will be taken as a fee for providing liquidity to enable the swap. So what's happening, there's a pool. And in this pool there is SLP and there's ETH. And lots of different people have been putting in equal amounts of SLP and ETH. And right now I'm swapping some SLP for wrapped Ethereum. So that means I am putting a little bit of SLP into the pool, 200, and in exchange I'm getting some ETH. So the pool now has more SLP and less ETH than it did before. That's important to remember that concept. As the amount of SLP goes up and the amount of ETH goes down, that can affect the prices. Now, no price impact for this tiny little amount that I'm doing. And even if I go back to my original interface here and I refresh, I can now see that I have 200 SLP and rounded to 0.03 Ethereum. Now, that's great if I was just earning my SLP and now I want to maybe buy another Axie or go into the marketplace and do things. But what we're going to focus on today is how to now participate in the pools. So when I go into the pool, I can see right now there's no liquidity, so I'm going to add some liquidity. And I can choose which token pair that I'm going to do. So I will choose the SLP. And I'm just going to put in 100 into this pool, the SLP wrapped ETH pool. And then I might show you how we can also do the Axie pool or look at staking. So right now it's going to take 100 of my remaining 200 SLP and the corresponding Ethereum that's worth the same amount. And I will own a very, very, very tiny amount of the pool. But I can approve. That way Katana has access to my wrapped ETH. Once that is approved, I can now supply. So I am depositing some wrapped Ethereum and some SLP, equal amounts, into the pool, and in exchange, I'm going to be given some pool tokens, some liquidity provision pool tokens. A very, 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 very tiny number, because I'm only putting in 100, but I am still contributing to the liquidity. That is important. And the more people that contribute to the liquidity, the more stable the liquidity pool becomes, and the more diverse. And so it's important that if I think everyone does this, even if you're only putting in 100 or a couple hundred SLP. So now that I have provided this liquidity, I now have a very, very small portion of the pool. And if you remember, when people do swaps, like earlier we did that swap, then a fee was paid. And so I will get this tiny little portion of the fees that are coming in. And you think about it, there's a lot of transactions that are happening. Like people that are earning SLP are going to be turning into wrapped ETH, and they're going to be using that to buy Axies, or they're going to be using that to buy food or whatever else is going on. And so there's going to be lots of transactions. And so even though I have a very small amount, those transactions will add up. Now I do run the risk of suffering what's called impermanent loss. Now permanent loss, if you can imagine, let's say everyone just keeps dumping SLP in order to get wrapped ETH, in which case then the value of the SLP goes down because there's so much of it. I would have been better off selling that SLP and holding ETH, but I don't have the ETH anymore that I had that I put in because it's diluted in value. So when I withdraw from this pool, I would end up with more SLP than I put in and less ETH. So there would be a loss of total value. Now the hope is that the amount of transactions that occurred, that would help offset any impermanent loss. Now if both tokens sort of go up and down similarly, there's not much impermanent loss. But if you think about it, SLP is primarily a breeding token. There's lots of people trying to like SLP to the moon, and why are you making SLP go up? You need to understand it's purely for breeding. It is not an ownership token. Ethereum is sort of a main chain token. It's good for gas, has lots of utility. It's kind of like a currency. If you are looking for a token that is investing in the actual Axie Infinity, the game ecosystem, then you want to be looking at Axis. And if you're looking at the infrastructure of the Ronin blockchain, you want to be looking at the Ronin token. So before we look at Axis, let's take a look at how the Ronin token will work. So right now you can't get the Ronin token from swapping. If I go to swap and I try to select, I can't get. Coming soon. Bum, bum, bum. So we don't know when in the future. Maybe in 90 days, because there is an allocation. If we scroll down on this Substack and look at the assets, the Ronin token will be distributed. And right now, over the next 90 days, 10% of the total Ronin supply will be rewarded to liquidity providers who stake their deposits, both in SLP ETH and Axis ETH. And these rewards will be pools for activated later this week. So that's basically now. So if you do what I'm doing there, you will then be eligible to receive RON tokens if you stake your deposits. So we haven't done that yet. RON is not for sale. Don't get scammed. There's nothing out there. The only way to get RON is to provide liquidity. So let's go back over here and look at my pool, and I can see right now I am providing some liquidity for this pool. I need to stake this liquidity. These are represented by those tiny little amount of liquidity provision tokens. So this is going to disappear when I stake it. I'm going to go over to farm, and I'm choosing the SLP wrapped Ethereum. I'm going to approve Katana to be able to access my LP tokens. You can see there, LP, liquidity provision, liquidity provider. There's going to be 555,556 wrapped RON being distributed every single day. So the sooner you get in, the sooner you're getting a portion of this wrapped RON. Hit stake. I'll hit max. It's a whole lot of zeros, but there is some there. Right over here. Confirm. Close. And I will now be providing liquidity for the pool. And because I'm providing liquidity and I stake my LP tokens, I can now earn RON. I won't get the RON right away. I won't be able to claim it just yet. That'll become available soon, within the 90 days, I would imagine. And once those 90 days are up, 10% of the total RON will have been distributed, and I can imagine that then there'll be some pools that are formed and a person will be able to just swap for it. Now, what will RON be used for? Well, if you think about the Ethereum chain, you have to pay gas for transactions, and that goes to the node validators. It helps provide security for the chain, and it also helps ensure that your transactions will queue and be processed in an orderly manner. Pay a little extra gas, your transactions will be given a bit more priority. Right now, the Ronin blockchain is free. You get the 100 transactions a day. With the RON tokens, we'll be able to have a similar infrastructure. Node operators and validators will be able to receive a portion of that RON in the form of gas in exchange for providing security and diversity to the network. And the anticipated cost is going to be very low in terms of how much RON you need to put in. The actual value of RON, there's all kinds of guesses out there. If you were to compare it to, say, Polygon, where there's a total supply of 10 with 9 zeros, 10 billion. And if you look at the Katana article here, it's going to be 1 billion. So 1/10 of what Polygon. So at fully diluted, it would be 10 times the Polygon if you think there's similar function of what would happen. Now, the Ronin blockchain is doing a lot more than the Polygon blockchain, so it might be worth even more than 10 times. But if you just went with the 10 times, then you would say it was around $11. If you go over to the engine, it's similar in number, $3. Of course, the engine has a lot less activity. So, I don't know, pick your range from $3 to $20 for the RON tokens. If you were to compare it to other similar projects. Tried to compare it to Immutable X. They're just so beginning right now. But again, if you look at it, would be double, so $6 if you were to try and compare it. Now, Immutable X does have some governance aspects as well, same with some of these other ones. So, anyways, hard to speculate on value, but there will be value. And you got to keep in mind, they're only releasing 100 million in the beginning, so the value might be quite a bit higher at the start or not. Either way, it's a great thing to do in terms of providing stability and to be participating in something that's coming out right now. Okay, if I go back to my pool, don't panic that I see no liquidity there. That's okay. That's because I am still providing the liquidity. I am still earning the fees on that liquidity, but I don't see it in here because it's no longer connected to my wallet. Those liquidity pool tokens have been staked in here so that I can earn some rewards. Okay, so I can do the exact same process for Axis. I can go over here to swap. I can change over to SLP. I could change over to Axis, maximum of my SLP, stake it into Axis, confirm the swap. Go over to the pool, add some liquidity, choose the axis, all of the axis. Now, here's a problem. Why is it red? Well, I'll approve the use of my axis just to get it started here. But because in the amount of time that I've been making this video and the different things that I've been doing, I have lost a little bit of Ethereum in terms of that ratio at the beginning. So it's not going to work for me to hit maximum of the axis. I'm going to have to hit maximum on the ETH. And even at that, it's still not quite enough. So let's just take off some of this decimal here on the end. There we go. So that'll be a nice little ratio of equal amounts of axis and ETH that I'm putting into the pool. I can supply it, confirm the supply, approve the transaction. And now I am providing liquidity to both Axis and SLP. I can go over into the farm. I can approve Katana to be able to have access to these liquidity pool tokens. And you can see I have 0.008632. I can stake this, put all of it in. And look at this, I've already started to earn some RON tokens, some wrapped RON tokens. So in just that amount of time that it took me to go and stake this, or to put the Axis wrapped ETH into the pool and then stake the LP tokens, I've already earned some RON tokens. Now I can't claim them just yet. It will be a little while. I'm anticipating up to 90 days. It may be up to 90 days before we can claim this. So I'm suggesting a person just decide an amount that they can allocate, stick it in here, forget about it for 90 days, unless something comes up beforehand, and you have a chance to do something. I think I already staked this, did I not? Or did I just approve it? Yeah, I did. Okay, let's just refresh this page. So there we go. I've already earned some wrapped RON tokens for my Axis, and I've already earned some wrapped RON tokens for my my wrapped ETH. And I can also take a look at the analytics, copy my wallet, go into my account, load the details. And it's right at the very beginning here, but you can see I'm providing $15 worth of liquidity for the SLP, and I'm providing $14 of liquidity for the Axis. Very, very tiny amount of fees that have been earned, but as time goes on, I'll be earning a portion of the fees for providing the liquidity, and I'll also be earning a portion of the RON. And then RON is the most exciting part, to be able to be earning those RON tokens through staking the liquidity provision. So I want to just go back and show a couple other important concepts that you need to understand. So when you look at the assets that are available on the Ronin blockchain, part of the Katana, is smooth love potions. These are generated through playing the game and winning battles, and they are burned and destroyed through breeding. Single utility. These are for if you want to become a breeder, or if you're a battler and you're using it. These are not the best thing for long-term speculation, though they are now a great thing for farming and staking and providing liquidity. Axis tokens, these are a portion of the Axie Infinity universe. There eventually will be 270 million Axis, and they are, if you believe in the game and want to hold, ultimately part of the game. Now you can stake Axis. I'm going to show that in just a second here quickly. And right now I think it's like 120% APR. And this is believing in the game Axie Infinity. Now we all can see that there's going to be a big push for blockchain-based games of all types. There's lots of room for Axie Infinity and many other games, and they're going to need a platform to work on. And I showed you Polygon earlier, Engine, and Immutable X. Those are some examples of some blockchain infrastructures that are hoping to provide the environment for a lot of these games to run on. But you also got to think about, in the traditional video game industry, the role that Steam would play as an interface for people to be able to access their games, download their games, play their games, and keep track of all of their purchases and assets and whatnot. Steam has made it very clear, Valve that owns Steam has made it very clear they're not interested in supporting blockchain games. Epic is kind of thinking about it, but they're ultimately owned by China, and there's going to be some other battles that they have to face. So Sky Mavis in the Mavis Hub, using the Ronin blockchain, which is already being used by with billions of dollars of value and many transactions and so on, and is being battle tested, has a good chance of being the winner in the blockchain gaming environment and industry, or at least one of the winners. There can be more than one. And the Ronin token, the RON token, is the token that represents that blockchain. So Axie Infinity, Axis tokens. RON token, the Ronin network. So they both have very distinct values and distinct use cases. Okay, let's just take a quick look at staking Axis. If you go to stake.axieinfinity.com, I'll put this link down below, of course, you can take a look at a staking dashboard. Now, the staking dashboard is very slick. It allows you to stake any Axis that you have in your wallet. So you can see right now I have 2.7 Axis staked. And every 24 hours, you can hit a restake button because you will earn Axis. Currently at 123% APR. There's $2.94 billion worth of Axis that is staked. Now, a couple of key things to understand about Axis is they have allocated 2 million Axis to be distributed in the month of October, which happened, now in the month of November, which is happening. And then as we go forward, there'll be allocated amounts of Axis that get distributed to staking. Also, we have a whole lot of Axis that is locked up in the treasury, which will go to landholders and other distribution. We also have a lot of Axis that's locked up in those liquidity pools, like I just showed you. And then if there's a lot of course, there's a lot of Axis that's locked up with the team as slow payment over the next 5 or so years. So not all of the Axis is available, which means this APR is fairly stable. I mean, it might go down 60-70% to about 60 or 70%, but ultimately it's going to stay much higher than conventional returns on, like, interest on investment or whatnot. So the main risk to Axis is the value of Axis itself going down. Right now it sits around $150 US, and maybe it goes down half the value and hits $70 and you lose that way. But again, if you're looking at a long term, or if you're looking at the Axie Infinity ecosystem and believing in the project, then you're going to want to have Axis. But you don't want to just have Axis sitting there. You might as well earn rewards on it. So you have it in your Ronin wallet. You go to stakeaxieinfinity.com. Make sure you're not on a scam site, and you can stake. And then every 24 hours, you can click this restake button, and that will add the rewards that you earned in that 24-hour period to the amount that you have staked, and now you have a higher amount staked. So it's compounding on itself if you hit that little restake button. There's currently no lockup period. A lot of times with staking, you have to have it locked up for a while. Right now, there's no lockup period on the liquidity tokens or on the Axis tokens, and you can just hit unstake, and you can just say, I need an Axis token, hit unstake, in a matter of seconds, it's in your wallet. So really great opportunities right now for staking Axis and just earning this APR, or actually taking your Axis and joining it with some wrapped ETH and putting in the Katana blockchain and pooling it, or even farming it. It won't be long until much of what's happening in this system is going to be self-contained, and you barely ever go over to the Ethereum blockchain. Anyways, I hope that was helpful. There's also lots of documents laid out where it goes through a lot of this information about swapping and pooling and farming and the basics of the DEX for Katana. But either way, I think at a bare minimum, get on here, provide some liquidity, start farming some Ron tokens, and it'll be good for you and it'll be good for the entire system. Okay, as always, keep track of your towel, and remember, don't panic.